Good morning students. In the previous video lecture we have seen why to study this microprocessor and microcontroller course. Then we have discussed the basic definition of microprocessor. Then we have discussed about the difference that exists between a microprocessor and microcomputer. We have also seen the history and evaluation of microprocessor. In this video lecture we will start with some of the basics, then we get into 8085 microprocessor. In the previous video, we have discussed that the microprocessor consists of a memory, input-output device, arithmetic logic unit, and control unit. And we also seen that the microprocessor is going to get the input from input device, and it is going to store it in the memory, and it is going to get it from the memory for processing that particular input. After processing the particular input based upon the user's requirement, it is going to send it to the output device. So how this particular instruction which is being given to the microprocessor is being working is based on the 3-cycle instruction. What it will do is, to execute a program, the microprocessor read each instructions from memory, interrupts it, then execute it. To use the right name for the cycles, microprocessor fetches the instruction. It is similar to that of reading. Then it decodes the instruction. It is nothing but of interrupting. Then it executed. That is, fetching is nothing but of process of obtaining a program instruction or data items from the memory. That is, it is going to fetch the instructions from the memory. Then it decodes. Decode is nothing but of a process of translating the instruction into signals that computer can execute. That is, after getting the instruction, the decode process is nothing but of converting the instruction into microprocessor known language. That is, it is going to translate the instruction into signals that computer can execute. After decoding, the decoded signal is nothing but of a computer known signal, so the microprocessor can easily execute it. Execution is nothing but of process of carrying out the commands which is being given by the user. After executing it, before sending it to the output device, the microprocessor is going to store it again back in the memory. So that is nothing but of the fourth stage. So once the instruction is being given to the microprocessor, it is going to first fetch that particular instruction and its relevant data from the memory. After fetching the instruction and its relevant data from the memory, what it is going to do, it is going to decode. By means of decoding, it is going to translate the instruction into the signal that computer can execute. After decoding, it becomes as the signal which is being known to the computer, so it is going to execute it easily. After execution, it is going to store. This is what the 3-cycle instruction, or else we can call it as a machine cycle. Next, what is a machine language? The number of bits that forms the word of a microprocessor is fixed for the particular processor. These bits defines a maximum number of combination. For example, if we take a 8-bit microprocessor, that 8-bit microprocessor can have at most 2 to the power 8, that is equal to 256 different combinations. However, in most microprocessor, not all of the combinations are used. Certain patterns are chosen and assigned specific meaning. Each of these patterns form an instruction for the microprocessor. The complete set of patterns makes up the microprocessor machine language. The 8085 is a 8-bit processor. It uses a total of 246-bit patterns to form its instruction set. These 246 patterns represent only 74 instructions. Reasons for the differences: all the patterns are not being used as machine language or instruction sets by means of the microprocessor. Only certain combinations are being used for as instruction set. So in 8085 microprocessor, only 74 such combinations are being used. So we are having only 74 instruction sets. For example, if we take a combination of 00111100, then it will be equal to 3C. So this 00111100 is being called as opcode. This 00111100 is being called as the machine language, which is being used. Entering the instruction using hexa value is quite easier than entering in binary combination. However, it is difficult to understand what a program written in hex code does. So each company defines a symbolic code for the instruction. These codes are called mnemonics. The mnemonics for each instruction is usually a group of letters that suggest the operation performed. For example, we choose the previous example itself, 00111100. That is, if we convert this particular binary code to a equivalent hexadecimal code, we will be obtaining 3C. This 3C is nothing but of the opcode, which is being converted to hexadecimal, right? And this opcode has a meaning, a user friendly meaning. The user friendly meaning is being called as mnemonic, that is the symbolic code is nothing but of mnemonics. So 3C is a symbolic code which has a user friendly meaning, that is called mnemonics. So the mnemonics for 3C is INRA. INRA stands for increment the A register. A register or accumulator. Accumulator is nothing but of a register in the 8085 processor. Don't confuse with the mnemonics now. We will be discussing about the mnemonics in the later video session. In order to understand what is a mnemonics, what is a machine language, and what is a opcode, I am giving this example at this instant, right? So let us have another example. If we take a binary number 1000 followed by means of 4 zeros, then if we convert it to hexadecimal value, it has a value of 80, and it has a, this 80 is nothing but of the symbolic code, or we can say it as mnemonics, and this mnemonics represents a instruction called add B. Add B is nothing but of add the content which is being in the B register to the accumulator register. Don't confuse with the mnemonics now, right? I have already told that we are going to see it in detail, right? So mnemonics is nothing but of a symbolic mnemonics is nothing but of a user friendly representation of symbolic code, right? How does assembly language get translated into machine language? This assembly language is being translated into machine language in two ways. That is, what one is nothing but of hand assembly and other is nothing but of assembler. In hand assembly, the programmer translate each assembly language instruction into its equivalent hexacode. Don't bother, we are not going to translate each and every assembly language into its equivalent hexacode. Instead of doing it, already it is being done, and available chart is being there. The chart is being called as opcode sheet or opcode chart. So by means of that opcode sheet, already each and every instruction is being coded to a hexadecimal value. So we user, what we are going to do is we are going to feed the hexa code to the microprocessor. If we are having an instruction like increment B, as we have seen in the previous example, the opcode for increment C is nothing but of 3C. So what we have to do is we have to take the opcode sheet of 8085 microprocessor and we have to search this particular instruction increment A. Parallel to this particular instruction increment A, we can find the opcode for that particular instruction or mnemonics, and we can find 3C as the hexacode for this instruction or mnemonics increment A. So we can load this 3C or opcode to the microprocessor. Once this 3C or opcode is being loaded to the microprocessor, it will be the processor, it will automatically decode this hexacode to the binary format and it will execute. Clear with this? And the next way of converting the assembly language to machine languages by means of assembler. An assembler program which does the translation automatically. Instead of feeding the opcode directly, if a processor consists of an assembler in it, we can directly feed the mnemonics to the microprocessor. Once the mnemonics are being fed to the microprocessor, the assembler, what it will do is, the assembler will convert the mnemonics or instructions into the hexacode, and those hexacodes are being converted into machine language or binary numbers. Once it is being converted to binary number, then the processor will start executing. So the one method of converting the assembly language into machine languages by means of hand assembly. In hand assembly, already each and every mnemonics or hex code is being converted to hexadecimal form, and that available hexadecimal format for each and every instruction is being called as opcode sheet. If we take an opcode sheet, all the instructions will be there, and its equivalent opcode is also being present there. So the programmer's duty is to search that particular instructions opcode, and he or she have to feed that particular instruction to the microprocessor in order to do a operation. Once that particular opcode is being fed to the microprocessor, what the microprocessor will do, the microprocessor's duty is to fetch that particular instruction from the memory, that is the opcode from the memory. After fetching the opcode from memory, it is going to decode it. Once it is being decoded, it is being converted to binary form or machine language. So the machine language is being executed. This is how the assembly language is being converted to machine language or machine code in hand assembly. When we are using assembler, the assembler is nothing but of a program which does the translation automatically. So a microprocessor unit itself consists of an assembler in it. So if a microprocessor unit with a inbuilt assembler is there, means no need to go for this translating method, that is no need to go for searching the opcode in the opcode sheet. We can directly give the instructions to the microprocessor. Once the instructions are being fed, the assembler's duty is to convert that instruction to opcode, and those opcodes are being given to the microprocessor. The microprocessor, what it will do, it will decode it. After decoding it, it is being converted to machine language, and that machine language is being known to microprocessor, so it can execute it easily. This is how the assembly language is being converted to machine language or machine code. Introduction to 8085 microprocessor. The 8085 microprocessor was introduced in the year 1977. It is a 8-bit microprocessor. Why we call it as a 8-bit microprocessor is it can handle only 8 bits of data at an instant of time. So if a processor can handle 16 bits of data, then it is called as a 16-bit microprocessor. If it has a capability of handling 64 bits of data, then we will be calling that processor as a 64-bit processor. This 8085 microprocessor can handle only 8 bits of data at an instant of time, so we will be calling this 8085 microprocessor as 8-bit microprocessor. Its actual name is 8085A. It is a single NMOS device. It consists of 6200 transistors approximately. Its dimensions are 164 mm cross 222 mm. It is having 40 pins dual inline package. The figure shows the pin diagram of 8085 microprocessor. Let me have a detailed explanation on each and every pins of 8085 microprocessor. As I have told in the previous slide, the 8085 microprocessor is a dual inline package integrated circuit IC, and it consists of 40 pins. The 40 pins and each and every functions of 40 pins are being detailedly discussed now. Pin number 1 and 2, these are all input pins. These pins are being named as X1 and X2. These are also called as crystal input pins. The 8085 can generate clock signal internally. To generate the clock signal internally, the 8085 requires external inputs from the pin number X1 and X2. This X1 and X2 pins are being connected to a external crystal oscillator of frequency 3 MHz. So the 8085 microprocessor is going to run with this externally connected crystal oscillator clock frequency of 3 MHz. Next, about pin number 36 and pin number 3, that is reset in and reset out pin. First we see about pin number 36, reset in pin. The reset in pin is used to reset the microprocessor. It is an active low signal. So what we have described this pin as reset in bar. When the signal on this pin is low for at least 3 clock cycles, it forces the microprocessor to reset itself. In the previous slide, while we are discussing about pin number 1 and 2, I have told that this pin number 1 and 2 are being connected with the crystal oscillator, that is with a 3 MHz crystal oscillator, and this 3 MHz crystal oscillator frequency is going to drive the microprocessor. So the frequency, each and every cycle in the frequency is going to be used for the operation of microprocessor. For cycle 1, cycle 2 and cycle 3, if for these 3 cycles, if the reset in pin is of low, then the microprocessor get into reset. Next is about reset out. It is used to reset the peripheral devices and other ICs on the circuit. In order to reset the microprocessor, we are going to make use of reset in pin. If we want to reset the other external devices which are all being connected with the microprocessor and external ICs which are all being connected with the microprocessor, then reset out pin is being used to reset all those peripheral devices and ICs which are all being connected to the microprocessor. It is an output signal because we are going to reset the external devices and ICs which are all being connected with the microprocessor. So the microprocessor have to send a reset signal to the other processors which are all being connected to it. So it is an out signal which is being given by the microprocessor to the external devices or peripheral devices. It is an active high signal. The output on this pin goes high whenever reset in is given low signal. The output remains high as long as reset in is kept low. Next we see about serial input data and serial output data pins, pin number 4 and pin number 5. The serial input data pin is being used to get serially the input from the serial port of 8085 microprocessor. It takes 1 bit input from the serial port of 8085. And similarly, the serial out data pin is used to send 1 bit of out from the 8085 microprocessor to the serial port. Next is about the interrupt pins. Interrupt means interrupting the normal execution of the microprocessor. When microprocessor receives interrupt signal, it discontinues whatever it was executing. It starts executing new program indicated by the interrupt signal. The interrupt signals are generated by external peripheral devices. After execution of the new program, microprocessor goes back to the previous program what it was executing. The interrupt signals available in 8085 are trap, RST 7.5, RST 6.5, RST 5.5, INTR, INTA. That is from pin number 6 to pin number 11 are called as interrupt signals. We will be discussing about this interrupt signals and the priority of interrupt signal, how the microprocessor will react to the interrupt signals in detail in the later session. Before discussing about the further pins in 8085 microprocessor, let us have a discussion on bus. What is a bus? First, we see about system bus. Bus is nothing but of wires connecting memory and I/O to microprocessor. So this is being called as system bus. Wires connecting memory and I/O to microprocessor is being called as system bus. There are three buses in microprocessor. One is of address bus, data bus and control bus. The address bus is used to send address to the memory. It selects one of the main location in the memory. Its size is of 16 bits. It is a unidirectional bus. It identifies peripheral or memory location. The next bus is of data bus. It is used to transfer data between microprocessor and memory. So it is a bidirectional bus. It is going to transfer data between microprocessor and memory and vice versa. So it is a bidirectional bus. And the next bus is control bus. This control bus is going to send control signal. Someone have to control the complete functionality of the microprocessor. So this control bus are going to send the control signals to the microprocessor. So the duty of control bus is in order to generate the synchronization signals, timing signals and control signals. Now let us go to the discussion of pins. Let us have discussion on pin number 19 to 12. These pins serves the dual purpose of transmitting lower order address and data bytes. During first clock cycle, these pins acts as lower half address. In remaining cycles, these pins act as data bus. The separation of lower order address and data is done by address latch. Next is about pin number 21 to 28, that is dedicated address lines. These dedicated address lines carry the higher order of address bus. The address is sent from microprocessor to memory. Next about pin number 30, address latch enable ALE. While we are discussing about the dedicated address lines, I have told that the higher order addresses are being coming from the dedicated address lines, that is pin number 21 to 28. And while we are discussing about the multiplexed address bar data line, I have told that the address as well as data are being coming from this line. This ALE signal will separate the address and data. Let us discuss about how it is going to separate the address and data. This ALE is used to enable the address latch. It indicates whether bus functions as address bus or data bus. If ALE is equal to 1, then bus functions as address bus. If ALE is equal to 0, then bus functions as data bus. Let us discuss in detail. The 8085 microprocessor has 16 address lines for 16-bit address of a memory location. Out of the 16 address lines, 8 address lines are solely dedicated to transfer 8 higher order address bits, while the remaining lower order 8 bits of the address are sent through another 8 lines multiplexed with the 8-bit data lines. It is the control signal ALE to be sent by the processor in appropriate time to indicate the operation of this 8-bit multiplex bus, whether it will be used to send the lower order 8 address bits or to send the 8 data bits. How it is indicated? Making ALE control high, the multiplexed 8-bit bus will act as address bus, while making ALE control low, the same 8-bit multiplexed bus will act as data bus. Thus, ALE is equal to 1 makes the address latched, that is latch enable, and ALE is equal to 0 makes the address bus disable, but making it data bus enable. In this sense, this 8-bit bus better should be said as data bus. Let us see how this is happening. During the first clock cycle of, see this diagram, during the first clock cycle of any instruction, what happens is that you see the first clock cycle, during the first clock cycle of any instruction, the ALE address latch enable signal is of high. As this particular signal is equal to high, I have told that when ALE is equal to high, it makes the address latch, that is latch enable. So as the address latch is being enabled, at the instant of time, the lower order address bus, that is the multiplexed address bar data bus, is going to act as address bus alone. The lower order address are being transferred. In this example, I have taken an address of A000. A000 is nothing but of a 16-bit address in which the lower order address is of 00. Since the lower order address bus is of multiplexed, this 00 will come out when ALE signal is of high. When ALE signal is of high, then the latch is being enabled. As the latch is being enabled, at that instant of time, the lower order address bar data bus will act as lower order address bus alone. So 00 will come out. After the first clock cycle, the ALE signal goes low. See the diagram. As the ALE signal goes low, after the ALE signal goes low, this multiplexed address bar data line will act as data line alone. It won't act as an address line. So after fetching the lower order address, the processor next it will get the higher order address from the second clock cycle. So in the second clock cycle, it start getting the higher order address from the dedicated address lines A8 to A15, that is A0. From in this example, we have chosen the address as A000. So A0 is nothing but of the higher order address which is being coming from A8 to A15, right? So after the addresses are being fetched, the now it is the duty of the microprocessor to get the data. As I have told that the ALE signal is going to be high only during the first clock cycle of every instruction. So during the first half clock cycle of the instruction, the ALE signal goes high. As the ALE signal goes high, we know that the multiplexed address bar data line is going to act as address lines alone. Since the ALE signal is equal to high, it is latch enable, that is ALE is equal to 1. So after the first clock cycle, it is being disabled, so it is automatically going to act as data line. So it is easy for the microprocessor to get the data after getting the address. Hope it is clear now. Next is about pin number 32, RD bar. RD stands for read. It is an active low signal. It is a control signal used for read operation either from memory or from input device. A low signal indicates that the data on the data bus must be placed either from selected memory location or from input device. Next pin is about pin number 31, WR bar. WR stands for write. It is also an active low signal. It is a control signal used for write operation either into memory or into output device. A low signal indicates that data on the data bus must be written into selected memory location or into output device. Next is about pin number 29 and pin number 33. S0 and S1 or pin number 29 and 33. S0 and S1 are called status pin. They tell the current operation which is in progress in 8085 microprocessor. When S0 pin is equal to 0 and S1 is equal to 0, then it indicates halt, that is that microprocessor is temporarily not going to do any operation. When S0 is equal to 0 and S1 is equal to 1, then it is going to, the microprocessor is going to write something in the memory. When S0 is equal to 1 and S1 is equal to 0, then the microprocessor is going to read something from the memory. When both S0 and S1 is equal to 1, then it is of opcode. Next pin is pin number 34. This pin tells whether the input, output or memory operation is being performed by means of microprocessor. If IO slash M bar is equal to 1, then it indicates the input output operation is being performed by means of microprocessor. If IO slash M bar is equal to 0, then memory operation is being performed by means of microprocessor. The operations being performed is indicated by S0 and S1 as we have discussed in the previous slide. If S0 is equal to 0 and S1 is equal to 1, it indicates write operation. If I0 slash M bar is equal to 0, then it indicates memory operation. Combining these two, we get memory write operation. This table shows the operations of input output memory S0 and S1. When IO slash M bar is equal to 0 and S0 and S1 is equal to 1, then it indicates opcode fetch. When IO slash M bar is equal to 0 and S0, S1 are of 1 and 0, then it indicates memory read. And similarly, you can see the table and you can see the operation of each and every thing. The next pin is of pin number 35, ready pin. This pin is used to synchronize slower peripheral devices with fast microprocessor. Suppose if our microprocessor is being connected to some other devices, and if that device is performing very slow, or else it is operating in a very low operating frequency than that of microprocessor, the slowly operating device and our microprocessor must have to synchronize. This pin number 35 is used to synchronize the slower peripheral device or external device with the fast microprocessor. A low value causes the microprocessor to enter into wait state. The microprocessor remains in wait state until the input at this pin goes high. Next is about pin number 38. Pin number 38 is hold. Hold pin is used to request the microprocessor for direct memory access. If some external devices are being connected with the microprocessor, and if those external devices does not have any memory at that instant of time, those external devices will seek the 8085 microprocessor to access its memory. At that instant of time, the 8085 microprocessor will render its memory to the external device. So in order to get the access of 8085 memory, what the external device will do is it will send a hold signal through this hold pin. So the external device is going to access the memory directly without the interference of 8085 microprocessor. So what it is being named as direct memory access transfer, DMA. A high signal on this pin, that is hold pin, is a request to microprocessor to relinquish the hold on buses. This request is sent by DMA controller. The last two pins which we have to discuss are pin number 20 and pin number 40. Those pins are of VSS and VCC. Positive 5 volt power supply is connected to VCC and ground signal is connected to VSS. That is, these two pins, pin number 20 and pin number 40, are ground and supply pins.